Hey, good to see you. So, something big just happened that a lot of people are talking about, especially if you're on Social Security, know someone who is, or you just care about how your tax dollars are being spent. President Trump has just signed a new executive memorandum that changes how the government handles Social Security benefits, and it's causing major debate nationwide. What makes this so important isn't just the politics, it's how it could affect millions of Americans. Fraud, immigration, identity checks, and even questions about how secure the whole system really is are all on the table. And there's one detail most people don't know: this order brings back a penalty of up to $10,000 for anyone caught filing a fake claim. That's not small potatoes. If you or someone you know depends on Social Security, or you simply want to understand what's happening to your benefits, this is critical info. Stick around, because getting the facts straight can help you protect yourself, your family, and your future. By the way, if you appreciate conversations like this, hit subscribe so you never miss an update that could make a real difference for you or someone you care about. Let's dive into what this executive memorandum actually is. On April 15, 2025, President Trump signed an order aimed squarely at making it harder for people who aren't legally in the U.S. to obtain Social Security benefits and cracking down on fraud within the system. On paper, that sounds straightforward. After all, who doesn't agree that tax dollars should go to the right people? But, as always, the devil is in the details, and some of what's in this memorandum is more complex than you might expect. First up, the memorandum directs the Social Security Administration, SSA, to work more closely with the Department of Justice and the Office of the Inspector General. In practice, that means the SSA will expand its fraud prosecution teams to at least 50 U.S. attorneys' offices nationwide. That's a significant increase in legal firepower aimed at prosecuting suspected fraud. At the same time, the order calls for 15 new units dedicated to Medicare and Medicaid fraud investigations. The idea is to arm federal attorneys with more resources to pursue what the administration describes as widespread abuse of entitlement programs. One of the more eye-opening provisions is the revival of what's known as the "Are You Alive?" project. Yes, it sounds like a sci-fi plot point, but it's very real. Under this initiative, officials will flag Social Security beneficiaries who are over 100 years old, especially when their earnings records don't align with typical wage data. The government's concern is that some of these accounts may be hijacked for identity theft. In other words, the actual centenarian might not be the one cashing the checks. By resurrecting this program, the administration is signaling that it takes identity theft concerns in the benefit system very seriously. Another key change is the reinstatement of civil fines up to $10,000 for anyone found guilty of filing a fraudulent claim. This big stick penalty had fallen out of use over the years, but the new memorandum brings it roaring back. Supporters hope that the threat of such a hefty fine will deter would-be fraudsters from attempting to cheat the system. All of these measures are being framed as efforts to protect the integrity of Social Security, which, on its face, sounds like something everyone should want. But there's a significant policy debate surrounding whether undocumented immigrants are really draining the system. The administration points to figures from the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, which claims undocumented immigrants and their children cost U.S. taxpayers roughly $182 billion annually in federal and state spending. According to FAIR, nearly 1 million undocumented immigrants use fake or stolen Social Security numbers to work and sometimes even claim benefits. Critics, however, counter that most undocumented immigrants don't actually receive benefits. In fact, many pay payroll taxes but never collect anything in return. The SSA itself reports that improper payments, benefits paid in error or fraudulently, account for less than 1% of total benefits. That raises the question: is the focus on fraud really justified by the data, or is it more about political posturing? This memorandum arrives at a time when debates over immigration policy under President Biden have been intense. In one fiscal year under Biden, over 2 million undocumented immigrants were assigned Social Security numbers. That figure includes asylum seekers and individuals under programs like DACA. To Trump's team, those numbers underscore a perceived lack of oversight. They also contrast sharply with Biden-era efforts to expand healthcare access to undocumented immigrants through Medicaid extensions and Affordable Care Act enrollment efforts that were largely halted by the courts but which left a lasting impression. So what does all this mean for you? If you're a citizen or lawful resident who's paid into the system your whole life, you might feel reassured that fraud is being taken seriously. But if you're worried about the impact on vulnerable communities, people who already navigate a labyrinth of government bureaucracy, this could set off alarm bells. There are also practical concerns raised by legal experts. An overemphasis on immigration fraud might divert resources from chronic problems like outdated SSA technology, staff shortages, and a massive case backlog. Those internal challenges can be just as harmful to recipients trying to access their rightful benefits. Privacy is another sticking point. Automated flagging systems could mistakenly identify legitimate recipients as suspicious. Imagine having your benefits frozen because of a computer glitch and then having to scramble to unfreeze them while living on a fixed income. That's not just inconvenient, it could be devastating for many families. And let's talk fairness. Is a $10,000 civil fine the right tool for someone who may have filled out a form incorrectly or misunderstood eligibility rules? Those are questions likely to be litigated as the new policies roll out. It's worth remembering that Social Security was never meant to be a political football. When the program was created in 1935, its sole purpose was to provide a safety net for older Americans, the disabled, and others in need. Over the decades, it expanded to include Medicare and Medicaid. But its core mission, help people when they need it most, hasn't changed. Now, nearly a century later, it's a system under tremendous pressure as people live longer and the ratio of workers to beneficiaries shrinks. Pausing for a moment to share something important, Medicare can be confusing, and we spent a lot of time looking for a partner we genuinely trust. We've teamed up with Chapter, a service that connects you with licensed advisors who take the time to understand your doctors, prescriptions, and lifestyle, then help you compare all Medicare plans available in your area. Their mission is simple: maximize your savings and minimize the hassle. On average, people who use Chapter save around $1,100 a year. It's completely free. And once you're set up, you'll have access to their care advocate team, real people who stick with you for claims, plan changes, or anything else you need. If you'd like to speak with someone today, call 615-639-1937. Back to the memo. Healthcare costs are rising, and yes, fraud is a problem. But there are also countless honest people who depend on Social Security and Medicare to stay afloat. This executive memorandum may look like just another headline, but it reflects a much bigger conversation about what kind of country we want to be. Do we focus on cutting waste or investing in access? Do we sharpen enforcement or fix broken systems? Whatever your view, these changes will shape not just policy, but public trust in government. So what do you think? Will this executive memorandum actually reduce fraud, or could it cause more harm than good? Let me know in the comments. I always appreciate hearing your thoughts, especially from those directly affected. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and keeps important discussions like this alive.